Welcome to the Business Titans podcast, where we talk everything to do with strategy on growing and scaling your business. I'm your host, Oscar Chavez, and today we have an absolutely special guest for you all. Let me introduce you to Howard Berg. He is recognized as the world's fastest reader thanks to the cutting-edge accelerated learning techniques he has developed, which turn information overload into information assets. Respected internationally for his contribution to the learning process, he is listed in the 1990 Guinness Book of World Records for reading more than 25,000 words a minute and writing more than 100 words per minute. So Howard here is the world leader in speed learning. So Howard, welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be there. I was telling you earlier, I was in Sydney about 10 years ago to launch the 4G network for Optus. And of all the places, I've been all over the world. I thought Australia was nicer than the US. If I could live there, I would. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful place. Thank you for complimenting our lovely city. Well, Howard, I thought we could take a bit of a step back and really get into the mind of a high-performance person. So a high-performance person is really dedicated to one particular skill. So help me understand, Howard, what was your life like at the time where you decided that you would just invest everything you had into speed reading, or even when you realized speed reading was a thing? Help me understand your mindset, Howard.
It started when I grew up in the projects of Brooklyn. Not a great place. It was very filled with gangs, lots of violence. I had knives to my throat. I was beaten with bats, and that was just a normal day. It was West Side Story without the music and dancing, literally, literally. And I found one safe place in my neighborhood with a library. Gang kids would rather be dead than caught in a library with a book. Yeah. So I read a lot. It was the safest thing to do. And I went to college at 17, and I majored in biology. I was at the State University of New York, Binghamton. It's in the top 10 public colleges in the country. And I majored in biology. And in my junior year, I get interested in how the brain works. There's a branch of biology called psychobiology. It's not psychotic biology. Psychobiology is the biology of behavior. So I told the dean I wanted to do two majors, bio and psych. He says, well, you're in your last year now. He says, you haven't had one psych course. You have to do the whole 4-year program in 1 year and finish the bio program. And I had 3 jobs. I was working 18 hours a week.
My gosh.
Take 2 4-hour labs, and lab reports on the slide rule took 16 hours. So it was 40 hours of lab, 18 credits of science, and 3 jobs. And he said, frankly, you're not smart enough. And that's when it hit me. They never taught me how to learn, not in school or at work. You listen to a song on the radio for 5 minutes and you sing it the rest of your life perfectly. You read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and the next day you don't know any habits. I said, there's got to be a way to learn things you need, like you learn songs. And I got up to 80 pages a minute. I did the full program in 1 year. I took the graduate record exam in biology. I reviewed 48 books in 3 nights, like cell physiology, genetics, biochemistry, plant systematics, not the lightest reading. And I got 3 questions wrong. So I was in the 99th percentile for biologists for that year. And then I wondered, was it me? I found a better way to learn. So I had a school where I taught a bunch of young people, 11 to 15, what I did. And they took a 30-chapter book in Lifelong Developmental Psych, which is a sophomore college book. They were 11 to 15 years old. They did it in 1 week. 15 out of 18 passed the course in a week. So I knew I was doing something different. And then I spent the last 35 years going around the world teaching people what I discovered to help them be successful in their information-based economies.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you've been dedicating your life to helping people. I mean, I can see that you've got over 200,000 students of people that you've impacted their lives. You've worked with people like Russell Brunson, who, most people in the entrepreneurial circuit know these types of high performance people. And it sounds to me, Howard, like you were at a point in your life where you were up against the wall. They said, you've got a year to learn what would typically take you 4 years to learn. And you thought to yourself, I can't do things the way that I've always been doing them. There's got to be a better way. And that's where I'm getting, there's a sense of, there's a passion that was ignited in your heart. Howard, tell me, when I tell people, because I've been a speed learner for a while now, I'm nowhere near as quick as you. I mean, I tried to compare my stats to yours and you absolutely crushed me. I've only been doing it for 3 years, whereas you've been a disciple of speed learning for a very long time. But one of the things that I find, Howard, is that when I tell people that I speed read, when I tell people that they've got to read a book a week, and the average CEO reads a book a week, and when I tell people that I do that, they kind of raise their eyebrows at me like I'm some kind of weirdo, that I'm kind of smoking something, or that I'm strange, or that I'm wrong. What is it? Is there a mindset element in order to become a speed reader, to get smarter? Like, what do you think's happening there?
That's a good question. No one's ever asked that. That's a really good question. I believe that emotional intelligence is a critical component in all success stories. Whether you read The Power of Positive Thinking or The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it all comes down to attitude and how you think about yourself and visualize yourself. I think people who are successful have a self-image of success. They believe in themselves. And part of it is learning more information and always knowing, no matter how much you know, there's so much more left to be able to learn. So I do think you're correct in that there's an emotional intelligence component to being super successful. I'll let you on a little secret. So when I got out of college, I was interested in consciousness. So I studied yoga. I got into a yoga ashram, and it was the Kundalini yoga ashram. So we studied all the 7 types of yoga, and I was focusing on like becoming more self-aware. And what also made me more compassionate, because I had such a horrible childhood, but it made me realize that as you become capable of doing things that are different, there's a response. Sort of like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. I think when you can make a difference, you have that responsibility to do it, not just for the money, but for the difference you can make. I mean, everyone watching the news, do they think there's too many smart people making too many good decisions? That's our big problem. So my goal is to empower people to be the best they can. I can't fix every problem, I know that. But if I can help the people who can solve problems connect more dots, because they have more dots, and I show them how to think clearer and better to connect the dots, I could be facilitating solutions to problems. And that's good enough for me. It's more important to me than having a record, being able to share it with others. And what I'm going to do for you before we're done, when we're done, give me your email and I'll set you up with my program online as a gift. And
Fantastic.
And you will read and learn faster. I wrote a book in 5 hours, and I'll show you how to write a book in a day also. It's very easy.
I love that. So I've written a book before. I'm a #1 Amazon best-selling author for some work that I did in the personal development space, and I'm huge on. I will take your course, and I will definitely give you feedback on that. So Howard, tell me, people that are thinking, it's a mindset issue. Can I learn faster? There's a certain level of discomfort there, and one of the things that holds people back is this belief that they're going to lose comprehension, or they're going to miss things on the page. And in my mind, a lot of this journey has to do with those fixed mindsets around this. So can you help people understand, why it is that they can get faster, and how it is that they can learn without sacrificing comprehension?
I could do better than that. I could show them why. I could give them the specifics. You're completely correct, by the way. Speed reading was terrible. About 30 years ago, I was with Dick Cavett. He was a very famous talk show host in the States, and he had interviewed Woody Allen, and we got to be friends. And he said Woody Allen told him he took Evelyn Woods and read War and Peace in 5 minutes. He says, "That's incredible. What do you remember?" He says, "It's about the Russian Revolution." And that was all he remembered. And that was speed reading. It's about biology. It's a calculus book. But if you had to ask someone, what do you know about biology or calculus? Not very much. So I'll show you the secret. I discovered a way so people can not just read quicker, but actually understand more. And I can show you how that works if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you do, though, I'm going to, because people jump in and out of this particular feed. So I'm going to put your website here. It's berglearning.com. This guy is the world record holder. If you want to earn more money, increase your impact, impact more lives positively, if you're the type of person that wants to give back to society, then I cannot recommend speed learning enough, because you're going to be smarter, more agile, you're going to do things quicker, and you're going to get more done. So with that, go to berglearning.com to find out more about Howard. So Howard, you were going to let us in on a couple of little secrets.
By the way, if people need help, I personally help them. I make sure they learn. I'm a Rotarian. I was the president of my club. So I try to make sure if I do something, I do it right. The secret to comprehension is schema. Now, that's a big word. What it means is what you know already. So I'm going to read a passage that has no schema, and watch how confusing it is. Then I'll read it a second time with a one-word title, and instantly it'll make sense. So here's the schemaless text. This is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This could be a major mistake and costly as well. So if I said right now, Oscar, what am I talking about? You probably aren't sure. Is that fair?
That is fair.
I'll read it again, this time with a one-word title that has schema, and watch out, instantly it all makes sense. Laundry. Laundry, this is an easy thing to do. If possible, you could do it at home, but you could always go someplace else if it's necessary. Beware of overdoing it. This is a major mistake and may cost you quite a bit of money. I'm teaching people how the brain makes sense of text, not just mechanics for going quicker. So they know what to look for. They know when they found it. It's like a decoder ring. You go 2, 3, 4 times faster with better comprehension. And we actually did a double-blind study using the Nelson-Denny, which is a standardized test for speed and comprehension. We had 100 random people. 50 did the A and the B, 50 did B and A, to make sure the second test didn't make them look smarter because it was easier. Yeah. And they did an analysis of variance, and everyone doubled or quadrupled with no loss of comprehension. So we know for sure that it'll help. But that's the secret. You hit on a very important point. Speed reading by itself isn't learning. Reading isn't learning. If it was, everyone reading a book would get an A or close every deal. It's a complex skill. You read to find what you need to know. You use brain-based learning skills, which we'll talk about, to make sense out of what you didn't understand. You use memory skills to retain it so you can use it when you need it. And you use emotional intelligence skills so you're in the state needed to use it successfully. So if I teach you to drive and you're ready for your road test and you fail, and I say, why'd you fail? You say, it was a test. I got nervous. That's an EQ problem. You knew the material, but you didn't perform. So that's what it's about. It's a Swiss Army knife of reading and learning and memory and emotional intelligence and study skills. So now combining all of those things, you can do some pretty amazing things.
It's so amazing how much synergy there is between what we both do. So in my own line of work, I coach a lot of high performance people like CEOs, executives, chief marketing officers. And one of the foundational skills that we're teaching them is about the fact that they cannot react emotionally to things. Because if they react emotionally, they're going to make the wrong decision. Wrong decision leads to potentially catastrophic outcomes. And we're talking about speed reading here, which is it's a pretty broad topic, but you're reflecting so much on the fact that the emotional aspect is incredibly important. I'm wondering, Howard, I mean, you've heard me say why I think speed reading is important. Why would you recommend speed reading to people?
Because we live in a knowledge-based economy, and what you know is what determines your success. Like right now in the US, 22 million people lost their jobs. How are they going to go back in the marketplace? They're going to have to learn new skills. A lot of them are not going back where they went. And by teaching people how to learn, they're able to acquire the skills they need to adjust quickly to a changing world. Even without the virus, they said artificial intelligence in the next 10 years will eliminate about 30 to 40% of existing jobs. And then in the next 30 years, every job. But right now we got to deal with the first 20 to 30%. So let's say you're a truck driver and now a robot's driving your truck. These people are driving trucks for a reason. There's a reason they're not brain surgeons and they aren't nuclear physicists. Well, suddenly they find out that the only way they're going to find a job is if they get their brain up to another level of performance. How are they going to do that when they weren't doing it well to begin with? That's what I'm doing. I'm showing them how to acquire those learning skills. I'll give you just a couple of examples. Stephen Terry graduated University of Texas, Arlington at 16, 4.0 economics degree, master's in math at 19 with a 397 GPA. Micah Stanley passed the bar at 19 in California. Justin Brummett, C student at 11, English professor at 22. This is just an example of what I'm doing. And then I just trained the Green Berets at Fort Bragg on what you said, emotional intelligence, and the Royal Thai Army in Bangkok. So you're completely right. Emotional intelligence is the core part of success in anything. And particularly with the virus, I tell people there's two situations. What's happening, you have no control over. But how you react to it determines whether this will be a time when you move to a new level of success or fall back. If you get depressed, if you get upset, if you lose your focus, this could be a catastrophic experience for you. Instead, you should be looking at what opportunities are opening up because of what's happening. And so you're completely right about EQ being at the core of anything. I don't care whether it's reading or learning or business, military, students, even seniors. If you can't hold it together, nothing will go right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I used to tell myself a lot that I had a bad memory because I'm a right brain creative type. I've been a musician, my whole life up until maybe 5 years ago. I stopped to pursue business full time. But one of the things that I always told myself was because I lacked that left brain analytical structure, I used to tell myself all the time that I had a bad memory. And then, if you fight for your excuse, you get to keep it. So what would you say to people that are thinking, I have a bad memory? What would you say to them?
The questions you ask affect everything. If you say, why am I a loser? You'll get loser answers. If you say, how can I be a winner? You'll learn what to do. I'll tell you the single best question you could ask, and this is what I taught the military. What's the next best thing I can do now? Not, why is this happening to me? This isn't fair. You might be right. It isn't fair. And it should be happening. But you know what? It's happening anyway. What are you going to do about it? So what you're really telling your brain is, this is where I am. This is where I'd like to be. How do I get there?
Yeah.
And so the brain answers the questions you ask. If you say, why do I have to learn this? It's stupid. It's boring, which a lot of people do in school and work. What you're really saying to your brain is, I don't want to learn this. So you put in all that effort and work, and when you're done, you don't learn anything because you basically said to your brain, I don't really want to know this. But I wanted to say, you brought up memory. If you'd like, I could show you how to speed memorize if you'd like to actually see how it's done.
Yeah, please. Absolutely. I'd love to.
I'm going to give you 10 things to remember.
Okay.
I won't show you how. That's our control group, science.
Okay.
Then I'll show you how, and instantly you and our audience will remember all 10 things, backwards and forwards. When you're done, I'm going to show you that it's not a drill, it's a tool, and how to use it for the rest of your life. And your kids can use it, those of you who have young people at home. So here are here's one more thing. Say and do with me. You remember 10% of what you read, 90% of what you say and do. Since this is an actual tool, you want to remember it. The 10 things you want to remember are pole, shoes, tricycle, car, glove, gun, dice, skate, cat, and bowling pins. And I'm willing to bet you may know some, but you don't know all 10 backwards and forwards effortlessly just now. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say. I, bowling pins, gloves, shoes, poles, gloves. I can't remember.
That's kind of normal. 3 or 4 is normal. One of the secrets to memory is thousands of years old. You take a list you know, link it to the list you want to know, and you learn faster. I'm going to bet you and our audience can count to 10. I think I'm on safe ground here.
Yes.
You use those 10 numbers that are in your head like hangers and hang those 10 things on those 10 familiar objects. A 1 Looks like a pole, like a lamp pole or a flag post. So when I say one, you say pole. One.
Pole.
Perfect. Two is shoes. How many shoes do you wear?
2.
What's two?
Shoes.
One.
Pole.
Perfect. Three is a tricycle. How many wheels are on a tricycle?
3.
What's three?
Tricycle.
Two.
Shoes.
One.
Pole.
And I can see from your eyes you're looking for your picture, which is exactly what you should do. 4 is a car. There's 4 tires on a car. What's 4?
Car.
2. Go to 2.
Shoes.
1.
Pole.
3.
Tricycle.
We're jumping on purpose. 5 is a glove. How many fingers in a glove?
5.
What's 5?
Glove.
What's 3?
Tricycle.
What's 1?
Pole.
You're going backwards. 6 gun. It's like a cowboy. They like 6 shooters in the westerns. 6 gun. They love them in Texas where I live. I don't have one, but everyone else does. 6 gun. What's 6?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
And again, you're looking for your pictures.
Yeah.
7 is lucky in dice in the first row. So 7 is dice. What's 7?
Dice.
5. And give me a clue.
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
Perfect. Getting smarter. Rhymes work. Say 8 skate.
8. Skate.
What's 8?
Skate.
Perfect. 6. What did they love in Texas?
Gun.
4.
Car.
2.
Shoes.
Perfect. Almost done. 9 is a cat. How many lives does a cat have?
9.
What's 9?
Cat.
7 is lucky with
Dice.
5.
Glove.
3.
Tricycle.
1.
Pole.
10 bowling pins in a lane. 10 bowling pins. What's 10?
Bowling pins.
1.
Pole.
2.
Shoes.
3.
Tricycle.
4.
Car.
5.
Glove.
6. Texas.
Gun.
7 is lucky.
Dice.
8 rhymes with.
Skate.
9 is a
9.
pet. It's a
Cat.
pet.
Cat.
And 10.
Bowling pins.
Just did it. Now here's how to use it. Let's imagine you go to a hotel, your room is 314. By the time you go to the lobby, you forgot your room number. It happens to everybody.
Yeah.
This is how to memorize numbers. 3 is a tricycle, 1 is a pole, 4 is a car. You make a movie. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Picture that. A tricycle hits a pole on a car. Tricycle, what number?
3.
Hits a pole
1.
on a car.
4.
That's your room number. Now,
That's
it's
amazing.
also the value of pi in geometry to measure a circle. So kids use it in math and science and history, and business people use it for due dates, percentages, room numbers, phone numbers. The 0 is the 10 bowling pins. So now you know how to speed memorize numbers.
That's amazing. So practical as well, because like you said, like I stay in a lot of hotels, and I'm always, what I do is I take a photo of the door so that when I come back. But the better way is to get better at learning, because the better that you get at learning, the better your ability to grow at learning. And I find that is so important with even things like speed reading. Like, you can't go from not speed reading to being a speed reader and winning a Guinness World Record overnight. It takes time. Howard, how did you prepare for the Guinness World Records? And can you help us understand what it was that drove you to want to win that illustrious goal?
Actually, it was marketing. I had a friend who was a professional marketer, and he says, I think you might be the fastest reader in the world. And if you can convince them that you are, you'll have like unlimited opportunities because you'll be a Guinness record holder.
Yeah.
So I was in 5 cities, and I was tested by 5 reporters where they had me read articles in like seconds and tested me, and I got 100. And then I was on 5 different TV shows in 5 different cities where they tested me. And so I sent them videos of the TV shows that were in all these cities and newspaper articles. And they told me most records they have one article or one show. He said, you had 10. They said it was very unlikely 10 reporters, news reporters, and newspaper reporters would all collaborate to make you look good. Maybe one, but not 10.
Yeah.
So they were convinced because of the number of people. In fact, if you go to watchhowardread.com, it's me with Justin Timberlake and Peyton Manning for Sony as the e-reader spokesperson. But I read the healthcare bill on Fox in New York in 50 minutes. It was 1,500 pages. And I did an analysis and I predicted what would happen, and everything happened. So I actually read the whole thing in 50 minutes on live television and then did an analysis. And then I read the second one. There was 3 of them. The second one was 2,000 pages. That was the House version. I read it in 58 minutes. And then I read the final version, which is the combined bills, and it was 2,600 pages. And I read it on live TV in 90 minutes, and I did an analysis. So they could see you're reading something that just came out 5 minutes ago. It just got written up. No one in Congress read it. Nobody in the world read it. There wasn't any way to read it. It just came out. It was 1,500 pages, and it just came out like 15 minutes ago, and you just read it on television and told people exactly what it did and how it worked. So that's an example of what I've done. And I do it for a reason, to encourage people, to show them you're capable of doing this. In fact, I could show you how to read faster if you'd like.
Yeah, please.
Show our audience how to do it. I can increase you 20 to 40% in the next 3 minutes.
Okay, I love it.
Okay. When we're done, go to a book you've read, preferably nonfiction. Fiction is often written to confuse you on purpose. If you know the ending, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Whereas nonfiction is structured to make it easy to transfer data.
Okay.
Pick a book you've read that you understood and read for a minute. Use a smartphone or a watch. Time yourself 1 minute. Read normal. Do nothing different. See how far you get. Then take a pencil, and wherever you finish, put a little mark. So that's how far you read in a minute. Now go to the second chapter and use your hand and go across one line at a time. Eyes following your hand as fast as you could comprehend. So as long as you understand what you're reading, go quicker until you reach a point where you don't know what you're reading. You know, that's when it got too fast.
Yeah.
Slow down just enough so your comprehension comes back. For 5 minutes, use your hand and move your hand across one line at a time as fast as you can comprehend, no faster. Then go back to the first chapter, time yourself for a minute, use your hand this time, and you'll go 20 to 40% further than the first minute just by doing that one change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that there's a huge, I mean, I don't know enough about it like you do, but there is a structure, and there is there are incorrect habits that we formed from the way that we've been taught to read when we're at school. Like, one of the things that I've heard as well, like, most people say the words in their mind, like but the speaking speed, the bandwidth is so slow, right? My brain is like 1,000 times quicker than my mouth or like my fingers on the keyboard. And I feel that's one of the things that holds people back. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That is so brilliant. You're the first interviewer who got it before I told them.
Yeah.
100% on.
I love this stuff. I love this stuff, Howard.
Well, obviously you're intelligent. I tell people, when you're in a car, you're reading the road, front, back, left, and right. And you're going 60, I don't know, kilometers, 60, 70 miles an hour. I'm going to say 90 to 120 kilometers, somewhere in there.
Yep.
That sound about right?
Yep.
So you're going 120 kilometers an hour, looking in 4 directions, watching for potholes, watching directions, watching for people. You're bored, you turn on the radio, you talk to your friends, you're on the phone, all at the same time, and you're bored. A book is right in front of you. You do 1 page at a time, probably about 200 words a minute, and the next day you don't remember 90% of what you read. The difference is, as you pointed out, in a car, it's a movie. Everything is visual. In a book, it's like someone is talking aloud, 1 word at a time. I'm seeing a movie in the book, and I'm making visual imagery out of the text. And so when I want to remember what I read, I play back the movie. And each image has thousands of details in it and I pull out the details and I convert them back to words.
Mm.
And it's not hard to learn. It takes about 2.5 hours to go 100 to 400% faster doing it that way.
Yeah. And when you read a book, you're imagining the words coming to life and creating a movie in your mind. That I understand that part. Does that link into then, you mentioned the schema, like the more that you read and the more you understand, does that mean the faster you can actually read?
Again, very insightful. It's like a snowball. The first time you read a book in biology, you don't know anything. So all the words are hard to pronounce. You can't. The second book, there's a couple of hundred new words, but the ones you learned in the last book are still there. In the third book, there's not as many. In the fourth book, there's very few. And as you keep going along, there's less to learn. You're only looking for, what don't I know yet? What's new?
Exactly. What's new?
Don't spend time learning what you know. Spend time learning what you need to know and didn't know yet.
Absolutely. That's what I'm finding as well. The more books that I read, there's a lot of material that's already covered in other books that I remember. What's the way to memorize even more? Like you've got the image stuff that's absolutely fundamental in schemas, but what else can you do to memorize the stuff that you're learning so that the next day you remember what that book's about? Is there any other secret techniques you can share with us?
They can. I'll do two strategies. First, what to look for. And second, how to remember what you found. How's that?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only 5 things you need to learn. I don't care what subject it is. 5 things. Would you like to know what they are?
I would love to.
First thing is vocabulary. 80% of a new topic is words. Learning the words. That's the first thing. What words? They're usually bolded, italic, underlined, color, glossary. They don't look the same. The writer has made those words look different for a reason. They want you to see them. They stand out. That's a clue. 2, the names. Who's in the book and what did they do? Third, any number, any date, any statistic, any formula. What is it? How do you use it? Why is it there? Fourth, in a nonfiction book, there's usually bolded sections and subsections that separate, like a file folder, themes. What are the 5 takeaways in each section? The 5 main takeaways. And last, questions and answers. Now, many times in textbooks, questions are at the end. So you go through 50 pages, there's the 20 questions, you don't know the answers. So what I do is I read the questions first. Then I know what they want me to know when I'm done. And when I see it, I know they want me to know it. Yeah. I don't have to read it again. I read it one time. So if you know every word and what it means, every person, what they did, every number, date, statistic, and how to use it, the 5 takeaways and the answers to every question, what else do you need to know? That's it. Now, how do you learn it? That was the bigger question. There's a system I'm going to share with you that will allow you to learn huge amounts of data very quickly. Does it make sense? The more brain you use, the more senses you use, the faster you would learn.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you ever notice when you go to spell words, often you can't say the letters out loud, but you can write them?
Yeah.
And there's a reason. You don't spell when you talk. You speak words. You spell when you write. You write letters, but you speak words. It's not the same.
Yeah.
So it's easier to remember spelling by your motor memory of the letters that you write than your speech memory, because you don't use that when you're speaking. So I realized that. So another important factor is repetition is an important part of learning. I'll say that again. Repetition is an important part of learning. So you put the word on one side of a 4x6 card, or 3x5. On the other side is what it means. You put the name on one side and what they did on the other. You put the number, date, statistical formula on one side and how you use it or why it matters on the other. You put the 5 main ideas on each card and you have a trigger word, and you put the questions and answers. Shuffle your cards so it's random. To get it right, you don't need to do anything. You know it. But you won't get everything right. When you get it wrong, here's where the magic comes in. As soon as you get something wrong, put it on a do-over pile. Take a pad and do this with a pen and pad, not a keyboard. Write it out 25 times. That makes you use your hands and your motor memory. Say it aloud while you're writing it. You're using your speech memory. You're hearing it in your auditory memory, and you're seeing it with your visual memory. So hola means hello. Hola means hello. Hola means hello. Hola means hello. Oh, 25 times. Take all the cards you got wrong and shuffle them and do them again and again and again and again till you got every one of them right. Now, once a day, put all the new material in the pile. Once a week, go back over everything from the start so you don't forget it. And the only things that'll take time are the ones you forgot, which is why you're doing this. And then you're going to use all these different senses to input it and remember it. If you do that, you'll be able to learn huge amounts of data in a very short amount of time, extremely effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. How out of interest, how long would it take you to memorize a new language using that technique?
I'm going to say a couple of days because a language is a bigger project than reading a book.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I did do. I read a graduate book in educational psychology in 7 hours, and I took the AP test, which was a 6-hour test, and I did it in 50 minutes, and I got a B+. Now, I needed the 4 graduate credits because I was a teacher and I didn't have time to go to school. I was building a company. So I used my reading speed to learn in 7 hours what takes 5 months in school, which I didn't have. And I didn't need an A. I needed a C- for the 4 credits. So I wasn't trying to learn the book. I was trying to get 4 graduate credits. So a B+ was more than enough for 7 hours of study in a graduate course, and to get almost an A in less than a day, I thought was a pretty good performance.
Yeah, I love your mindset, Howard. You're like, you just want to get to the fine detail and do, and not waste time on it, right? It's about getting the execution as fast as possible. It's about being optimal. It's about leveraging your time properly. I love that. I do have another question from an audience member. They're saying they like reading for pleasure, and so speed reading takes the pleasure out of it. What would you say to someone that that has that mindset?
They would be correct, but there's a way to fix that, and that's what I'll teach them how. I speed up the boring parts. How many novels do you read get so boring? It's like, I don't think I can finish it. It's so boring. I was reading The Mists of Avalon, which is a wonderful story about King Arthur, but there was 12 pages about the furniture in his throne room. Every knife, fork, spoon, napkin, plate, the motifs. I couldn't care less. I read that in 3 seconds, 15 pages. Okay, nice furniture. Let's see some action. And then when it gets interesting and intriguing, I slow back down. So I speed through the boring parts, so I'm conscious of what's happening, but I don't feel anything, which is good because I might feel it's bored.
Yeah.
And then when it appears more appealing and more dramatic, I slow back down to a gratifying speed. Because I'm speeding up a lot of times for boring parts, I'm still finishing it a lot faster, and I'm not bored. So you get the best of both worlds. So you can actually use it to enjoy a novel if that's your goal. Personally, for me, I prefer using it for learning. I hate reading. I love learning. Can I tell you a funny story about that?
Can you hear me, Howard? I can't hear you.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
perfect. You can hear me again. Okay, yes. Awesome.
So,
no, I love that.
I had a funny story. About 10 years ago, my wife wanted to go to Hawaii, and I was lecturing on cruise ships. And they didn't want speed reading, which kind of made me bummed out. I said, well, what do they want? They said, we want you to someone who can teach photography, video, and Photoshop. So I said, well, I do that. I didn't know any of it. But I know if you read 10 books, you're an expert.
Absolutely.
College, you take 10 courses in your major, and you're an expert. So I read 10 books on Photoshop in 3 hours. I learned Photoshop. The next day, I read 10 books on video in 3 hours. I learned video. The next day, I read 10 books on photography in 3 hours. I was a photographer. So I go to the cruise and like, please let these people be so old, they don't know what a digital camera is. They think cameras have film. That was my perfect audience.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
first guy walks in, he says, I've been a professional photographer 38 years. He pulls out a telephoto lens that's about 3 feet long, $8,000 lens. I got a $100 camera. I came here for you to teach me photography. I'm like, okay. And the second guy comes in, he says, I've been doing Photoshop for 5 years. I hear you're an expert. And my wife's sitting in the front crying because they said if I didn't do it, they'd throw us off the boat. Not in the water, but when we got to shore. So for a week, I'm teaching them Photoshop, video, and photography. At the end of the week, they said, how many years have you studied to learn all that information? I could say I learned it in 3 hours last week because I wanted a free cruise. But I knew I didn't lie. I knew I still know how to teach video. I still know how to use Photoshop. I actually learned it. And to me, that's what it's about. Reading's a screwdriver. I don't like reading. I like skills that I can use in my business to help me be more successful. And I don't have 4 years to learn Photoshop in college. I need it tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. You touch on such important points here because when we talk to business owners about working on their business, it's really about freeing up the time to work on higher purpose, higher intent, more strategic endeavors. And and also speed reading comes into that, because if you're terrible at sales, then go and read 10 books on sales. If you're terrible at negotiation, go and read 10 books on negotiation. If you don't know how to manage a balance sheet, go and read books on finance. If you don't know how to market, go and read 10 books on marketing, because all the secrets are out there, right? This is what I call reality hacking, because you can actually tap into the knowledge that's in the universe, that intelligence that flows through us all. And you can tap into that in order to accelerate reality. Because the truth is, if you're a slow reader, your reality is going to unfold in front of you at a very slow rate. If you read at a fast rate, your reality is going to unfold much quicker. And I've done a lot of study on neuroscience, things like that as well. But one of the things that I've understood to be apparent and very true, and you touched on this, which was kind of mind blowing to me, but it is in the language. You can't create reality unless you understand the right lingo, unless you understand the right language. So if you want to learn something or implement something into your life, you have to learn that language first. And until you become a master of the language, you can't then create the reality that you're trying to create. It's such an important thing, Howard.
Completely right. That's why I said the first thing is vocabulary. 80% of a new topic. Biology, words like Agilius, Phoenicius, or Quercus. Who knows those words? But if you want to study biology, you better learn them, because you'll be hearing them a lot. And every field has that kind of a specialized jargon that's only in that field. And if you don't know it, I don't care how smart you are, it's like reading a foreign language. You don't understand what you're reading.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a question about, I've heard of the term smashing scope when it comes to speed reading. Have you come across that term before?
No, I've never heard that term.
Yeah, it stands for like synesthesia, movement, association, sexuality, humor, imagination. It's all very complex, and I can't even remember what they all mean. But essentially, it's, for me, at the end of it was about tapping into that creativity. Like you were saying, being very visual in terms of what you're trying to learn, being very intentional in order to get the maximum value out of it. And I think it is something that you've got to focus on. Howard, you mentioned that you want other people to know that this is possible. And I'll just drop your link again at berglearning.com for people that really want to take their lives to the next level. Because no matter what it is, if you're trying to grow a business, or you're trying to be an entrepreneur, or you're trying to do more philanthropic endeavors, or you're trying to raise money for charity, no matter what it is, the cornerstone of success is how fast you can learn. I'm a fundamental believer in that. And what you know, absolutely. So in terms of, you said you wanted other people to know that this is accessible to them. Why is that important to you, Howard? Why do you really want people to know that this kind of thing is important to them or accessible to them?
I'm a grandparent, and I'm looking at the world, giving these kids global warming, incredible deficits, coronavirus. There's so many things going on in this world, and I feel there's a responsibility to give them the intelligence to find solutions. It isn't enough to give them problems. We need to help them find solutions. And I've been given a gift. I don't believe most people will read 80 pages a minute. That's a special skill. It's like an X-Man. I'm like Professor X. It's a special gift. And I see it as a responsibility. I was given a gift. I'm supposed to do something with it. And so that's why I do that. If you'd like, I could show you how to be a genius because you brought that up. And I
Please.
That,
Absolutely.
there's 3 levels of learning: literal, implied, and inferential. That's psychology. Literal is what you see. Implied is what they expect you to know without telling you. Inferential is getting it, getting the meaning and significance. So I want you to imagine a circle with a dot in the middle. So when you're looking, what do you see? Just I just told you what you're seeing. What do you see?
A circle with a dot in the middle.
How interesting is that? Be honest.
Not very interesting, but the dot is red for some reason, maybe because I'm wearing a red tie.
Could be. That's literal learning. It's words on the page. Someone said, go read it. You need to know this. You don't know why. You don't have any idea what you're doing with it. It's boring. Most learning is like that. Second level, it's not just a circle with a dot. It's a symbol of the sun. It's the symbol of the sun in astronomy. And I've been studying symbols because I'm very interested in how they affect the brain. And it's the symbol of the sun in astrology because it's a symbolic language. Now, on the third level, it's the meaning of life. Would you like to see how a circle with a dot could be the meaning of life?
Yes, absolutely.
A dot is the symbol of a point. There's an infinite number of points all around you, and you can't see any of them. They're infinitely small. They fill everything, and they're invisible. So they are synonymous with God. Spirit is everywhere, but you can't see it anywhere. So a point is a symbol of something that's everywhere you look and invisible. The circle is a symbol of a boundary. In the circle is you, self. Outside the circle is everything that isn't you, not self. And what it's saying is at the center of everything is one thing, spirit. So we all look different, act different, seem different, but we're really one thing. Humanity is an organism. It is comprised of cells called people. We're all connected. Everyone matters. Everything matters. We're no stronger than the weakest link in our family. That's one of the reasons you asked for why I do this, because this is how I see it.
Yeah.
We're all connected. It matters. The people who are able to do more have more responsibility. It doesn't make them better. It means they're more mature, older souls. They have a greater responsibility to do it, to help the newer ones get stronger. So now you see the circle with the dot in the middle is the meaning of life. Is that more interesting than it's a circle with a dot?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had to use that in business. 20 years ago, everyone saw cell phones. They looked like Captain Kirk's communicator. They all looked like Captain Kirk. They flipped open. Steve Jobs says, what if I put a processor in one of these and a monitor, and it makes phone calls, but it's a little computer? I think I'll call it an iPhone. How well did that work out monetarily for him? Then he looked at it again. He said, I can make it bigger. I can make this 8.5 by 11, the size of a sheet of paper. I'll call it an iPad. How well did that work out? Everyone else saw a phone. He saw the potential. Genius is seeing what everyone sees differently. Everyone sees the same thing. The genius sees the new opportunity. Another good example, Jeff Bezos. Richest man in the world. What's he doing? An 18th century model. J.C. Penney and Sears made all their money on catalogs. When people moved out west, they couldn't find stores, so they used the catalog and they shipped everything. They're going bankrupt, both of them. Bezos says, what if I put the catalog online in the 21st century? They had the supply chain. They had the products. They had the catalog. They never thought to put it online. He puts it online, becomes the richest man in the world, doing what they did 100 years ago, but in 21st century technology, they missed it and they go bankrupt. That's genius. Seeing what everyone else sees differently. Would you like to see magic? Real magic.
Yes.
Not fake magic.
Absolutely.
Magic is actually real, and it's so real and so ubiquitous you don't even realize you're seeing it every day. Look around you. Everything that exists that wasn't made by nature was a thought.
Yes.
Someone thought of your jacket. Someone thought of your computer screen. Someone thought of my mouse. They turned their thought into a thing. Magic is turning ideas into things. It's not just dreaming what you want, but seeing what you want happen because you learned what you needed to take the idea and make it real.
Yeah,
That's real magic. And that's
absolutely.
what this is about. Learning gives us the tools, the power to turn our thoughts, our dreams, our hopes, our wishes into reality.
Mm,
And
absolutely.
people who get really good at it make a lot of money
Yeah,
and help a lot of people. And that's
absolutely.
why we're here. And that's why I do this, because I know there's magic in the world. And I know a lot of the people watching have the power to do amazing things if they can only see how to unleash that learning power to turn that dream, that vision into a reality so they can help everyone else with the benefit of what they had in their head.
Yeah, I'm obsessed, Howard, with reality hacking. With it's also called manifestation in some circles. In some circles, it's called alchemy, taking something and turning it into nothing. But you're right, Howard. It is that with everything that we see around us, it begins with a mere thought and belief. So you have to have the belief that your thought can turn into reality. And once you have the belief, I teach people, Howard, this concept called Baho method, right? So when I'm teaching executives, I call it the Baho method, which means your beliefs lead to your actions lead to your habits, and your habits lead to your outcomes. And you mentioned before, writing on a piece of paper, sometimes you can't think about the order of the words when you're writing them down, but you've got a habitual pattern that is wireframed into your brain because of neuroplasticity, right? And so with a simple change in beliefs, such as, you know what, I can create my own reality. You know what, I might have a sore back, but I can learn how to how to fix my back. Or I might have a child with XYZ syndrome, but I can learn about how to deal with that problem. And you can start to create your own reality and make reality better than what it is today. And that's what motivates me to get out of the bed in the morning. It is like, I can go out there and I can create a reality that is better than the one I'm living. Not the one I'm living is bad, but it can be better. And if my reality gets better, all the people in my web, my sphere of influence, the people that are reliant on me can also create a better reality for themselves. And then in turn, we're going to create a better world. Because Howard, I mean, you're a speed reader. You've gone back into history, I'm sure. You've seen the horrible things that human beings can do to each other by just not saying anything, right? The people that are silent sometimes are the ones that accept the violence that happens around them. Like if you look at Nazi Germany or the Cold War, that sort of stuff was propagated by people not saying their truth. And this whole notion of speed learning and learning faster really empowers us to create a better world than the way we left it.
You got it. That's it in a nutshell. And exactly, making a better world. And it's a better world because of everyone in it doing something special, contributing their own little piece of the puzzle. I don't have all the pieces. You don't have all the pieces. But collectively, we all have pieces. And if we can just find what our piece is and turn it into a reality, what a wonderful opportunity it would be for everyone. And that's partly my mission, is to help people, to empower them to find that, to find not just more information, but how to connect those dots intuitively to find new ways of using things like Bezos did. Take something that's there already and turn it into something amazingly new. And suddenly you're the wealthiest man in Australia or Asia or wherever it is you live, because you were the first person to figure it out. And even though everyone else had the same opportunity, and that's what the world is about. It's about connecting the dots. The more dots you have, that's where the reading comes in. The more you have to connect, the better the chances are it'll be extraordinary, because no one has those dots but you.
Howard, I got a question for you. With your training and what you're teaching people, are you seeing a direct correlation between a boost of income and the ability to learn faster?
Think of people making the big money. Does a neurosurgeon make more money than a dishwasher
Yes.
or a floor sweeper?
Yes.
There are people who physically labor much harder than the neurosurgeon. They dig trenches in the heat in the summer. They're outside doing very difficult manual labor, but they don't make the money of the neurosurgeon, because the neurosurgeon's knowledge takes many years to acquire and can save your life. And you'll pay a premium for someone who can do that for you when it's needed. And so it's true in everything. The people who have the low-hanging fruit jobs are the ones who are most in danger of computers and robots taking them away. If it's something a machine can do, it's going to be a machine doing it in the near future. So it's so important for everyone to elevate their learning level and understanding so they can stay successful in this world that's changing so quickly. And even now with the virus, I'm actually doing better now with the virus than I did before. I found new ways to make my work more successful. Instead of worrying about what's going on and how terrible it is, I'm so busy I don't have any free time. I'm making new programs, I'm writing books, I'm doing webinars, I'm doing interviews, I'm forming strategic alliances, I'm teaching myself guitar. I'm continually challenging myself on purpose. Why guitar? Because it's uncomfortable to learn something you don't know at all. And so by pushing myself into an unfamiliar territory, I'm forcing my brain to develop new connections it never would have connected to. And each time you do that, photography, Photoshop, every time I do that, I'm putting another layer of possibility on. Never know where it'll end up, but I know the more layers I can put on, the better my chances of doing something extraordinary, because no one else can connect those layers. They don't have them.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll take a moment just to pause and cover what we've covered through this interview. We covered topics like reality hacking, and you can learn more at berglearning.com in terms of learning a lot faster. We've talked about rapid learning. We've talked about why people should learn faster, that it impacts their bank account in a significant way. We've talked about the fact that if you want to unlock and achieve your full potential, then learning is one of the cornerstones that you need to do. And you also need to learn a lot faster. So we've gone back in time a little bit and we've covered a lot of learning, Howard. And before we started this interview, we had a little bit of a chat about writing faster and also how to eliminate writer's block. So we've kind of gone back here. So let's say we're amazing at speed learning. We're now ingesting information at a rapid rate and we're not losing comprehension. How do we then go forward and give our gift to the world, write faster and launch, and eliminate writer's block?
There is no one way. Everyone has to find their own path. There isn't one way. If there was, we'd all be the same. I think the beauty is we'll all do it a different way, in a different area, where our own expertise lies, our own natural talents lie. One person may become a brilliant musician. I'm never going to be Eric Clapton. That isn't my calling. I'm very good at what I do, but I could be competent at playing guitar. Someone else might become a gifted writer. Someone else may become an engineer. Someone else may become a doctor. Someone else becomes a brilliant businessman who finds a problem everyone has and solves it. I don't know what it is they'll do. What I do know is there's something special inside of each person watching this, and they need to learn how to unlock that gift. By the way, at berglearning.com, we do have free lessons to get them started so they could see that what I'm doing is something they want and can use. I think that's a good way to do anything, to give people a chance to road test the car and say, yeah, I like the car, I'll take it. So we do that with our programs. We give some free lessons so they can road test it, see that it's for them. And I'll tell you, if they need help, we'll make sure they learn it. Because to me, it's not just about money, it's about making a difference.
Yeah.
And I can look at myself at the end of the day, knowing that I'm helping people become the best they can be. And to me, that's the real gift, not my reading record, but the people like Stephen who finished college at 16, Brad who did a 4-year college in 6 months. To me, that's my real legacy, these people. And I hope some of the people in Australia will become some of my next success stories as well.
Absolutely. And I'll definitely spread your message far and wide here in Australia so that people can really take full advantage of the fact that this kind of stuff is available to them. And the thing is, Howard, that people don't know that they can get faster. They don't realize that speed learning is something they should invest in. And so, my goal here with you is to help people understand that this is a possibility and help them go to berglearning.com so that they can take full advantage of the opportunity. Howard, before we wrap this interview up, is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
The only thing I would say is I'm hoping someone will have me come there and do workshops. I loved your country. I thought it was such an amazing place. My wife had a chance to come with me, and my dog was dying and she wouldn't leave. And the dog died while I was gone. I had to work, I had to go. And I felt so bad she never got to come. And I promised her that one day I will go back to Australia with her and we do workshops and she get to see what a wonderful country it is. And we'd meet people and we'd have fun. So if there's any way to help that happen, that would really make me happy. I don't expect to come in the next few weeks until this virus thing is they have a vaccine or some way to safely travel. I don't think it's wise for any of us to go on a 23-hour flight.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's a dream of mine, is to come back. I love your country. The people are wonderful. It was the best place I ever went, and I've been all around the world. And I tell people, of all the countries I've been to, the only one I would think of living in, not visiting, but living in, would be your country, because it's an incredible place. I come from New York, and to me, Sydney was New York without the crime.
Absolutely.
It was just an amazing experience. And I'm thrilled just to look at the picture. I know exactly where you are because I was on a speedboat in that doing the commercial for Optus. So hopefully you or some of the people listening will have me come back someday when it's safe to make the trip. And that would be something I'd really be thrilled and pleased to do. If you could make that happen, I'd be really happy.
Absolutely. I'll work on that for sure. So we've done a lot of events. So you can see the logo here, Growthly Marketing. We've done a lot of events and brought people international in order to facilitate workshops. So that's something we can definitely talk about once coronavirus goes down a little bit, Howard. I'd love to help you manifest your dreams. And I'm going to learn to speed read a little bit more from you. So look, stay with me after I hang this up. But for everyone that's watching this, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time, and go to berglearning.com to learn from the master himself. If you want to learn from the world's best and you want to learn to achieve your full potential, like Howard said, there's something special in each and every human being. And I'm a full believer of that every human being has an innate capacity to do really good things in the world, whatever that is. You've got power within you that you need to be able to tap into, and Howard is your man to learn that. Thanks, Howard, so much for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Send me